So the Steam Deck's been making waves in video game headlines, and along with that, we have reports of video games being a pandemic as well. Sounds like scary stuff. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Prob.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to News Trash, where we take an extended look at the more interesting happenings from the last 7 days from the world of video games.
Right. Yes, usually at this front end of the show, we are now doing this new thing where we're looking at a new video game release that is worthy of highlight. And amongst the highlights, there's an indie game called Greek Memories of Azure, which looks nice, sort of a cooperative thing. There's also, well, nothing really. The main big release is Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, but that is essentially just a reissue with a DLC pack. So the big release, honestly, is probably 12 minutes from Annapurna Interactive on PC and Xbox. So,
that's the one with William Dafoe in, isn't it?
Willem Dafoe, Daisy Ridley, and James McAvoy. Yeah, but that's a time loop game developed by one person in which you have to unveil what's happening because your character keeps on dying as a cop comes and does bad stuff to you. I mean, Annapurna are good. They're very, very good. In fact, they're probably one of the more consistent indie game publishers that they're present. But I don't know. Time loops are very, very hard to get right, as they've been proven by how many times they've got it wrong in movies.
Yeah.
So, the Sexy Brutale did it particularly well. And despite the sort of veneer of arty cinema to this, for me, the jury's out whether this gets it right. But, you know, it's got a lot of components which are painting it as interesting, so we'll see how that turns out. So yeah, that's 12 minutes. That's out this week, Xbox and PC, and give it a go. Let us know if you play it in the comments below. So from that, we jump headfirst into the news in the hope that it's not quite as horrible, bleak, and doomed for the video game world this week.
Not as quite, but we have to start off with the horrible stuff, unfortunately. In this case, maybe not as horrible, but it's still horrible. Activision Blizzard investors, right, there's a group called the SOC Investment Group, and they are one of the shareholders of Activision Blizzard. And they have reported, that SOC Investment Group have allegedly criticized the actions that Activision Blizzard has taken in response to the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing lawsuit. The executive of SOC, Dieter Weisenegger, has taken exception to Activision Blizzard's response in a letter to the company's head independent board member, Robert Morgado, and has stated, while we appreciate the improved tone and increased details in CEO Kotick's recent letter to Activision Blizzard employees, customers, and shareholders, the changes Mr. Kotick has announced do not go nearly far enough to address the deep and widespread issues with equity, inclusion, and human capital management at the company. Which is all a lot of business speak for, get your finger out, you haven't done enough.
Shock horror. The guy who is famous for getting a staggeringly large bonus doesn't really know how to do his job. Shock horror. Paint me surprised there. The guy who is constantly referred to as having demon horns and complains to the internet to stop depicting him with demon horns doesn't know what he's doing. I am surprised. Quelle surprise.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is, the SOC group, it was previously known as the CTW Investor Group, and they have been vocal on the subject of Bobby Kotick's and other game industry executives' compensation, especially when it comes to pay and bonuses. They've actually been very, very vocal about this stuff, but Weisenegger went on to say, the law office, Wilmer Hale, about hiring the law office of Wilmer Hale, they actually had this in the letter. The firm has a sterling reputation as a defender of the wealthy and connected, but it has no track record of uncovering wrongdoing. The lead investigator does not have in-depth experience investigating workplace harassment and abuse, and the scope of the investigation fails to address the full range of equity issues Mr. Kotick acknowledges. So, yeah, they're not happy at all about a lot of the decisions made.
Yeah. Digging deep, digging deep, digging deep.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's affecting their profit margins, so you can be guaranteed shareholders like SOC Group will dig deep.
Well, now it's one of those things, isn't it? That once the train's moving, there's no stopping it. There's probably a better metaphor, but it's essentially the same sort of thing. Now that there's motion, the motion keeps on getting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah,
and the only thing that's going to stop all of this momentum, that's sort of anti-Activision Blizzard, is a crash. Whether that's a crash of the company or whether that's just a disintegration, whatever, it's just there's no way this ends well for Activision. We've basically said this for the same sort of stories for the same few weeks.
We're continuing on with the same story because there's been 3 quite senior Activision Blizzard employees that have been let go. Luis Barriga, who is the game director of Diablo 4, the lead designer of Diablo 4, Jesse McCree, and the World of Warcraft designer, Jonathan LeCraft, have all left the company. And this was announced internally, and no reason was given for their departure, which is very similar to how they got rid of Alex Afrasiabi last year initially, until we actually found out that he was fired for misconduct. Now, the thing is, 2 of these people actually appeared in that picture of the Cosby Suite. McCree and LeCraft both appeared in that picture.
Yeah.
Having no reason given for them leaving the company, and then I find it all quite suspect. It also concerns me because if you don't give a reason as to why, especially in the midst of all this, as to why they've been let go, they could easily get taken on by someone else who doesn't know about their history.
Yeah. Well, it's one of these things, isn't it, with the video game industry? There's a lot of open secrets within, sort of fellow industry professionals, but to the layman, to the journalist or whatever, we don't know the side. Yeah.
Another lead game designer, Corey Stockton, who was also in that photo, has been put on leave, but apparently still works at Blizzard. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think
the house is on fire. Watch that MFF burn.
Exactly. It is that. I reckon that they're just the first of the heads that are going to roll in all this. Yeah, it's going to be bad. Meanwhile, Google, this story actually left a bad taste in my mouth because it reminded me of a certain interview that Bill Gates gave about Google. Google, it emerges, apparently thought of strangling Epic kind of in their infancy.
Use of words that they're basically talking about strangling a baby. That's a baby company.
I say strangling them in their infancy. That's kind of the term that Bill Gates used about Google.
It's very telling that that's the sort of language that they use.
Yeah, Bill Gates, who does so much charity work now and everything like that, but he was ruthless when he was in charge of Microsoft. That was a phrase that was ascribed to him after that interview. But anyway, it emerges from the court documents in Epic's antitrust court case against Google because they didn't just take Apple to court, it was just that was the most focused on court case, but they also took Google to court on the same day about this. And most of the court documents are redacted, but some bits have emerged, and one of the bits is this. For example, Google has gone so far as to share its monopoly profits with business partners to secure their agreement to fence out competition, has developed a series of internal projects to address the contagion it perceived from efforts by Epic and others to offer consumers and developers competitive alternatives, and has even contemplated buying some or all of Epic to squelch this threat.
Here's the thing, right? Because Google have slides and have this world-famous office space where everybody's going around on segways and it's all happy, glow, doesn't mean they're a particularly nice company. This is the company who didn't make their fortune from being the world's #1 search engine or having the world's #1 internet browser. No. They made their fortune by selling your information to advertising companies, and they made their fortune by selling your data. So I'm not surprised that they'd do a tactic like this, because to me, Google, their business office space is just a distraction. They're really a nasty company.
I hate the idea of people selling my data to anyone. I wear unbranded clothes because I'm not going to advertise your product unless you pay me.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Wearing a big logo on a t-shirt for a brand that isn't paying me to wear their logo, well, no, I refuse to do it. So I prefer wearing unbranded clothes that are just plain.
Here's my final comment regarding Google. One, I don't use Google. I use DuckDuckGo as my internet search engine. I use Firefox, Brave, and Opera GX.
Yeah.
Every article, I'm a site editor at thegeekshow.co.uk, and I don't direct to companies like Amazon. If I want people to buy stuff, I will direct the links straight to the company which sold them. And if it's not available there, I'll send it to HMV. So I don't like these organisations, and stories like this just confirm my intent here.
It's a thing that I read years ago. It was on the nature of kingdoms, and the idea was that the majority of people don't care who's king as long as today is the same as tomorrow. They don't care who's in charge.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that applies to all these mega corporations now.
One thing I will say, it pays to be anti-establishment.
Here's the interesting bit. There is actually a bill, a fledgling bill, going through the US Senate, House of Representatives, whatever you want to call it, that actually addresses the whole antitrust thing, the whole monopoly thing, that accuses Apple and Google of having a monopoly or a duopoly, whatever you want to call it. And this bill is clearly aimed at them. But there's also a lobby group now that is opposing this bill called the Chamber of Progress. Guess who funds the Chamber of Progress?
It's Apple and Google, isn't it?
It's Apple and Google, yes.
I don't think they know what progress means. Their progress, yes. But progress doesn't override the scheme, no.
Moving on to Anywho, anime news now. Sony bought Crunchyroll.
But it's only half of the story, isn't it?
It's only half of the story. But Sony bought Crunchyroll, so Crunchyroll now is part of Sony's Funimation global group company, because they already owned Funimation. That entire thing, Crunchyroll, is now going to, well, the plan is to make Crunchyroll part of a new premium tier of PlayStation Plus.
Well, that's the thing which Eurogamer have broke, whether there's any truth in it. I mean, Eurogamer do have a history of predicting these things or leaking these things or whatever word you want to use, but it's not been confirmed yet, but the implication is there when you put in the video pass, the video PlayStation Plus thing that they're trialing.
The video pass, it was called, yeah.
Yeah. It all does scan.
Yeah. The thing is, we said this months and months and months ago when that video pass story first broke. We said, Sony have Sony Pictures, yeah? And it would be easy enough for them to put together a service that was similar to Netflix or Amazon or whatever, or however they wanted to spin it. That was similar to that, a subscription service for TV, movies, that sort of thing, and then extend that to games because they've also got PlayStation Now. Combine them into one service, one streaming service.
Yeah,
Bob's your uncle. Yeah,
higher tier of PlayStation Plus, and if that's what that was, I mean, I don't care for anime whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if that's what the higher tier of PlayStation Plus would be, yeah, I'd have a go. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, if it's PlayStation Now combined with Sony Pictures, because Sony did make some good movies, they got some good TV shows under their belt as well.
So interesting story that, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see if it actually comes to light.
The Steam Next Fest generated, the demos converted 292% more wish lists to sales, according to Valve, which I think is a great thing.
Yes, that is fantastic.
It's a great thing.
Good for games.
Yeah, it's good for indie games in particular, because the Next Fest was all about indie games. I like one of the things I love about Steam as a service is that they recognised, because people told them, that indie games were getting buried under all the AAA titles and all these other titles that were getting sponsored ads and flagged and put on the front page of the store and everything like that. And so they came up with these festivals that run throughout the year in order to promote the indie games that don't get a lot of attention. And the free demos that you can play on Steam are great. And I encourage more people to actually look at the free demos that are available on Steam and try some of them. Some of them are amazing.
While you are on the channel, check out our new series, Demogeddon.
Yep.
Link in the top corner.
I played through the Plane Effect, the prologue of the Plane Effect. I am really looking forward to that. It looks like a fascinating game.
But yeah, this is great news. I wish other platforms would take this lead and do something similar.
Looking at other platforms, in specific Nintendo, since they seem to be getting a lot of the indie games these days. The thing is, Valve have been making a lot of headlines recently because of the Steam Deck, and they have come out and said that they weren't interested in making something that only played low-spec games, which is why it's a reasonably powerful machine. But they have made quite a bold statement, which kind of ties into that recent video we did, Valve declaring war on everyone.
Link in the top corner.
They have said that they are fairly confident the Steam Deck will be your next PC upgrade, not your first PC. This is clearly aimed at people who already own a PC. Their next PC upgrade will be a Steam Deck. Now, in that video, I did say people are gaming using aging parts and stuff like that, and the Steam Deck represents a viable alternative to buying better parts or even a new gaming laptop or something like that, or upgrading your PC. It represents a viable and cost-effective solution to that. So I think a lot of people will go for that. And Valve have basically, within days of us releasing that video, have come right out and said that.
So thanks, Valve. Appreciate that. I'll still be getting a gaming laptop because I want other functionality, but for gaming, the Steam Deck is a stunning proposition.
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially if you are on a tight budget. The fact that you can play high-end games at a reasonable resolution, at a reasonable frame rate, that's competitive enough for you to actually be competitive.
Yeah. Remember, it's portable, so it's a low frame rate to stop it cooking the machine alive.
Yeah. And okay, it may not have the power of something like an INE or something like that, but it doesn't need to have that kind of power when it's that portable.
But check out our videos for more on this.
Yes. Moving on to this one, I have a lot of things to say about this, but I'm not going to go into detail. It kind of annoyed me though. Dr. Disrespect is starting a game development studio with a twist. Dr. Disrespect, whose real name is Guy Beam, I hope I pronounced that right. He is a popular streamer who once worked as a community manager and level designer at Call of Duty developer Sledgehammer Games. He is looking to recruit a studio head for a new business. He is in partnership with Boom TV to take on the game industry by storm and incubate a new AA, AAA gaming studio that has a unique twist to it. What that twist is, nobody knows.
Yeah, the implication is he's going to get fellow influencers and streamers and allow them to create their dream game. But yeah, look, this is bad for video games. There's so many people out there who, have the trade, they know how to write stories, they know how to code. Their games get overlooked because a streamer wants to do something. Oh, shucks. No. Bad story. Bad.
Right. What I will say is this, right? There are certain things, right, that you learn in your life. And one of them is that when you're a teenager, you will have a tendency to be overblown and dramatic. Maybe you'll write some bad poetry about somebody that you fancy. Maybe you'll write really, really awful stories that decades later you'll go back and look over when you find that journal you used to have as a teenager. You go, oh my God, was I really that bad? And maybe you'll be like Zack Snyder and vicariously live out your teenage fantasy, your 13-year-old fantasy, and make a movie out of it called Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
And this is on that level. This is the kind of
fantasy. That's what
this is. The kind of, my main worry with this is that it will basically allow people to... I have no problem with Dr. Disrespect having a game studio. I've got no problem with it. He's got some of the experience. He's worked as a level designer and he's been around the streaming community for a long time. He probably has his own ideas. Maybe he's had games he's wanted to make for years and they've refined over that time. I'd be curious to see how it all turns out. But knowing several other streamers and knowing some of the more popular streamers that are around, he's not my concern. They are.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. He's fine.
Yeah.
Because he has history. Those people don't.
Exactly.
That's why they stream.
And that's the point.
Level all your insults at me in the comments, Rob. Because I said this, Prob didn't. I said this. This is my horrible thoughts.
See, let me put it this way. I like Dr. Disrespect. I like the character that Guy Beam has created because, the shades, the wig, everything like that, it all appeals to me because, I look at it and I'm like, oh God, that's how we all used to dress.
Anyway,
during the
next story,
80s.
because I'm just going to say more stuff that's going to get me in trouble, so moving on to next story.
Yeah. Don't worry, we are. This one caught me a little bit off guard. The director of Spec Ops: The Line is working with Robin Thicke, the guitarist from Nine Inch Nails, on a new cosmic horror game.
I mean, you can't really complain about all the people who are streaming wanting to make games and then say, oh, a guy from Nine Inch Nails, he can make all the games he wants, because that would make me a hypocrite. However, the fact that it's the Spec Ops: The Line director does give me hope, because that game is constantly credited for having a very big twist. I mean, looking at it now, it's kind of telegraphed and kind of obvious and a little bit crass. But at the time, it was a big baller movement in a game.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that he wants to do cosmic horror, and I don't think there's enough cosmic horror in video games. Okay, enough good cosmic horror in video games. So the fact that he wants to do it and perhaps potentially could add to it, I'm interested in.
The thing is, my main issue with cosmic horror in video games is that it's rarely done right.
That's basically what I said. It's very, very easy to do badly.
Yeah.
Very easy.
I mean, when you say cosmic horror, most people start thinking, oh, Cthulhu.
No, that's not cosmic horror. That's
what most people would start thinking, though.
That's ancient gods and deep dark depths of Earth, not cosmic. Cosmic's out in space. Cosmic is alien. It's dead space. It's stuff like this.
Yeah.
That's cosmic horror.
Or just supernatural beings from space, or whatever you want to say it. You know, however you want to do it. Or space gods, or space demons, whatever you want to call it. But it's from out there, not down here on Earth, under the sea.
The Callisto Protocol. That's going to be cosmic horror.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, but it's very, very easy to get wrong, and Cthulhu is not cosmic horror.
Yeah. The game studio that they've joined forces to establish for this game is called Eyes Out, which actually makes me hopeful for it. The fact that they've actually called their studio Eyes Out. It's said to consist of a team of passionate world builders and storytellers who believe in the powerful synesthesia that emerges from music, narrative, and interactive experiences.
Intriguing. Very intriguing.
Yes.
So it's not just, I want to make a game, I'm the Nine Inch Nails man, give me a game. It's actually bringing his own context and his own history to it. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I actually think it's a good thing as well, because the Nine Inch Nails, when they were at their peak, were producing some very interesting stuff. But they've said that the new game is single-player immersive cosmic horror with strong environmental storytelling elements, which gives me hope.
Yes.
Moving on to South Park, which is, as I suppose it could be classed as cosmic horror, maybe?
Dabbled.
They have dabbled. But then again, South Park have dabbled with everything at this point.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
So anyway, the next South Park game is going to be developed by South Park Studios themselves, which,
this is part
Matt
of a
Stone,
new story in which they've been given $900 million to make more TV shows, a few movies, and some games. Oh, one game, I think. So this is part of that story.
Yeah, and they've literally just had money thrown at them and said, do whatever you want. And they're going, okay, we'll make a game then.
I like the games, but they tend to stray a bit too much to what... I mean, in the first one, there was a huge part of it which was censored.
Yeah.
And I think that's what creative freedom gets them. I think they need to sort of tone it down a little bit, but still keep it South Park, because, swinging balls and boobs is not particularly as clever as they think it is.
Yeah. I like... What I like is the naming of their games. The Stick of Truth was a great name, but the Fractured Butthole...
Fractured Butthole is a great game. More lot lines than the Stick of Truth, and I think they're on a winner. Yeah,
I'm sorry, but the Fractured Butthole is, and the way they phrased it as well, the Fractured Butthole, as in complete, is just the best naming ever.
Yeah, it's a good game. Good game.
And also, wasn't it one of your alternatives to the Yakuza Like a Dragon?
Yes, it was. We will be bringing back alternatives to in due course. It's just having a bit of a sabbatical.
Yeah. Rockstar are reportedly bringing a remastered version of the original Grand Theft Auto trilogy on the PS2 to all systems, including the Switch, and that original trilogy being Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, which is a lot of Grand Theft Auto.
I'm going to say this, that's the best 3 games that Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar have ever had.
San Andreas was amazing.
Yeah, them 3 are head and tails above everything that they've ever done. And the question here is, how much of a remaster is it?
Well, I mean, there's remasters and there's remasters, isn't there?
Put, 4K, 60 frames a second. It's like, yeah, pleh.
Yeah. But if it's rebuilt...
Come on.
Yeah, if it's rebuilt from the ground up, then that's a different matter.
They won't do that.
Yeah, I doubt they'd do that as well. We can only hope. You never know.
I wouldn't play them. I mean, I played those games a lot, so... But for people who haven't played GTA, they're great.
Don't forget, Rockstar were the company that basically spent ages developing a table tennis game. So I wouldn't put it past them to just do this because they felt like it. Just rebuild it from the ground up because they felt like it.
That's why they've been quiet for so long. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's been how long since Grand Theft Auto 5?
2013.
So 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never know. It's not something that's beyond the bounds of possibility, especially with them already having all the assets for the original game.
Yes, true.
Anyway, moving on to our penultimate thing, which this kind of makes me happy, but it also kind of makes me sad. The makers of the C64 Mini, the Commodore 64 Mini, have announced plans for a new mini console based on the Commodore Amiga 500, which is called the A500 Mini, and it's due out early 2022. It's going to cost about £120 here in the UK, and it's going to have 25 classic Amiga games on there, which include games, 12 of the 25 games that have been confirmed are Alien Breed 3D, Another World, All Train Racing, Battle Chess, Cadaver, Kickoff 2, Pinball Dream, Sam the Sorcerer, Speedball 2, Brutal Deluxe, The Chaos Engine, Worms, and Zool. Now, to me, this is great, because one of the things you can do with this, it's got a USB port, and if you've got old Amiga ROMs, you can plug it in and play old Amiga ROMs on it. Great, But it just feels like, because they brought this out, I am now never going to see some of those classic games being remade.
No, I wouldn't. That's absolutely as far away from the truth as possible.
It feels a bit like that, I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's the truth.
But I don't think there's any truth in that whatsoever.
There's no truth in that. But I'm not saying that.
This is good because it's paying homage to history. It's respecting history. It's this platform, which was very, very popular at the time, being given a sort of a chance of timelessness through this device. But the second angle, the bad angle, who is this for? Because I don't think the audience is there for it. I don't think this will sell very well.
Well, I mean, the C64 Mini did okay, but I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't say it sold a lot. And this, I don't think will sell a lot either, because this is aimed at people like me who have very, very fond memories of the A500. But for people like me who have very fond memories of the A500, I've got an A500 and an A600 sitting in my loft. Why would I go out and buy this when I've already got that, and I know how to connect that to my PC so I can play games on it, or I can emulate the A500 on my PC and play games on my PC.
There's other minis that I think would be better served by, like the N64, Dreamcast, things like this.
Well, there's all the there's stuff like the Atari Jaguar.
Yeah, there's so many other more contemporary things which would get more intrigue and more sales and more, prestige.
Yeah.
Good as this is, it's kind of a lost battle already.
The other thing that confuses me about it as well is, if you're going to do it in this form factor, right, you can plug in your own PC keyboard and you can add your own ROMs. It comes with its own mouse, or it will do, and I don't know whether the keyboard that's on it actually works, but I would assume not, since you can plug in your own keyboard. But if you're going to make it look like the old A500 but have it as an actual console, then, why are you including the mouse with it? Just have the controller. It's confusing. Final story. And it seems to be a recent trend that people are paying more attention to the games that came before, We've been seeing remasters and additions to old franchises. And our final bit is trailer trash, where we're looking at a new trailer for a game called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk.
Yeah, this is part of the Nintendo Indie Showcase.
Yeah, and this one really stood out because it's basically Jet Set Radio, let's be fair.
It's Jet Set synonym.
It is. Because, I mean, even the title, when you look at it, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, Bomb Rush is basically Jet Set. Cyberfunk, I don't know how you get from radio to Cyberfunk. Maybe there's a way.
Cyberfunk on the radio.
Possibly, you never know. But it is basically Jet Set Radio. I mean, it wears its heart on its sleeve. At least that is the case.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's one of these things that I really like where games developers say, yeah, we're not going to make that. So indie games developers go, you're not going to touch that? Okay, we'll bring it back. Screw you right to hell. We'll do it instead. But this just kind of looks average. I mean, is it on rollerblades or not? Because he seems to be on Heelys, but he's running on them and then he's grinding on them. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Is it gravity, anti-gravity? Is it really? Is it real? I don't get it.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you ignore that little bit of it, the rest of the game is quite literally Jet Set Radio, because you run around the city avoiding the police. You have to go around graffitiing various parts of the city to claim them. Yada, yada, yada. You grind all over the place and ride on rails and all sorts of stuff like that. It's basically Jet Set Radio.
Yes, and if also alternative to this is Sunset Overdrive as well. That's basically Jet Set Radio as well. So
yeah, I mean, first time I saw Sunset Overdrive, the trailers for it, I thought, wow, they've brought back Jet Set Radio, but it looks so good.
Yeah, it is. It's worth a play, that. But yeah, that's all we have time for this week on News Trash. If you like what we do, subscribe. Click that bell notification, comment below calling me an idiot for basically throwing all of streaming under the bus. If you still like us, despite that, we have a Patreon. Please do check it out. We have exclusive content, Pop Screen, Extra and Director's Lottery, and monthly podcasts over there. Some Patreons are on screen right now. But yeah, that is all we have time for. Thank you very much for sticking with us all the way to the end. We do appreciate it. But until next time, when we have more news and a significant amount of trash too.
Bye!